Cyberpunk 2077 looks better than real life. Yeah, we're there, boys.
You've probably seen this video floating around. Cyberpunk 2077 with some photoreal and really lifelike looking mods. I mean, like, sure, there's tons of videos out there claiming to make games.
It does look slightly odd and too good to be true. It's like the real world was in HD or something. But maybe it's just real life with a strange camera lens or something like that. You can do some crazy stuff with that, with camera lenses nowadays.
Look lifelike, but this is one of the rare instances where it actually looks lifelike, so much so that even several of the developers behind Cyberpunk 2077 have commented on it. So today, I'm going to show you how to create this exact same experience for yourself because, yes, I managed to get my own Cyberpunk 2077 to look pretty damn lifelike, and you can too. Although it's going to cost you. Because unfortunately, at least as of right now, this look isn't free. So even beyond just this photorealistic look that you've seen going viral all over, I'm going to show you several other ways you could turn Cyberpunk 2077 into more of a visual masterpiece. So this original video that's been going around comes from Next Gen Dreams, and they actually have several more videos just like it, making Cyberpunk 2077 just look absolutely photoreal. And one of the key components of what's making this look possible is
no, this looks, yeah, okay, so this is definitely, again, because look at this, yeah, that's as fake as it gets, but this, yeah, this looks pretty much almost 100% real. Crazy stuff.
Nova LUT. If anything, it's almost doing most of the heavy lifting here. This is a new mod that just dropped a couple of weeks ago, but its release is leading to many ditching their old visual setups for Cyberpunk and actually switching to this new one. So you have a lot of veterans that have been modding Cyberpunk in one way.
I mean, it makes sense when it just looks that good, honestly, right? Who cares about everything else? In the real world, quality wins nowadays. We are past the point of quantity over quality for most things, honestly. Food, clothes, luxury goods, everything. Everything is about quality over quantity because even low quality stuff is actually still pretty good nowadays.
For years, they're now modding it in a completely different way because this mod's that good. And even with just Nova LUT alone, this definitely makes Night City look more realistic. It's going to turn down the bloom of the city. So instead of things looking unrealistically warm, you'll find a Night City with cooler tones.
Oh wow, this is wow, look at this.
You'll find a Night City
bam, wow,
with cooler tones. It can definitely be harsher, but it also,
you know what I do hate about these mods though, always, why is everyone trying to get a reflection in puddles? You know that real life doesn't actually work like that. For a reflection in a puddle to work, it needs to be extremely still and some actual real-life conditions need to be met for it to work. Not every puddle is just magically gonna reflect every single piece of everything like it's a damn mirror. I dislike it so much when they do this.
Tones. It can definitely be harsher, but it also feels just a bit more lifelike. And I think you can see that most evidently with this sunrise scene, where the vanilla visuals are fun, but the modded ones are just a lot closer to how this would actually look. But even on its own, Nova LUT looks fantastic. It is one of those rare mods that excels at both day and night. Compared to vanilla Cyberpunk, I think with—
Wait, did you just cover up my horse?
Both day and night. Compared to—
They made them more classy. I actually like that.
vanilla Cyberpunk, I think with Nova LUT, nighttime signs don't pop quite as much, but really this is most obvious because I'm showing you comparison shots. As you actually play around with this mod during nighttime, it has a really nice aesthetic, and those signs will still stand out to a really nice degree. And in just typical gameplay as you're adventuring around Night City, even with just this mod and basically nothing else, you can get your game looking pretty realistic and fantastic. When you're playing with this one, there'll definitely be moments where you just stop and are like, damn, this looks great. But of course, you don't just want your Cyberpunk 2077 looking great, you want it looking photo real. But the next step to get there will cost you. To achieve the look I have here, this will require photorealistic reshade. You can get this right now on Next Gen Dreams Patreon behind a $7 a month tier. But don't fret, because later in this video I'll have some awesome free alternatives if you decide that $7 a month is just not worth it. Man,
imagine telling a Bethesda fanboy you have to pay $7 for something because in life everything is not free. they would flip out. Oof, man, the danger zone.
This photorealistic reshade is meant to be used with Nova LUT, and it's actually going to build off of many of the changes. You can see here in these comparison shots, comparing the photorealistic reshade with Nova LUT, the game will be brightened up quite a bit, while also implementing a very intense depth of field. You can see it most prominently here past these buildings, as this heavy blur rolls in with the
I don't know if I like this.
reshade on top now. And sure, with this photoreal reshade, things look good, but I'm sure some
I think this is bad, honestly. Let's look at the previous one. Huh, yeah.
prominently here past these buildings, as this heavy blur
I don't know if I like this because is it me or does this kind of take away from the feeling of depth here?
rolls in with the reshade on top now. And sure, with this photoreal reshade, things look good, but I'm sure some of you are sitting here perplexed. These shots barely look better, and even if you compare them to vanilla Cyberpunk 2077, they don't really look photoreal at all, just different. Well, what I found is that when you add the photorealistic reshade on top, things truly come alive as you're moving around, and these still comparisons don't really do it justice at all. And you see it quite clearly here. Just simply looking around and turning will actually bring to life that depth of field change, and that combined with some of the
Actually, do you think this looks better? I'm kind of torn. It looks too bright-ish.
other visual changes make this look pretty amazing. Particularly when you walk up to objects like cars and let the depth of field take over, this mod will really start to shine. Like as I stand here looking at this quadra, the game looks absolutely incredible, and even just looking down this city street, it genuinely feels alive.
Yeah, it feels like every building is just too bright.
You can set up some specific scenes to almost trick your brain into making this look better though. For example, I found when there are a lot of opportunities for depth to be presented, like here with so many objects in the close distance to medium distance to also far distance, things begin to look shockingly lifelike, with the depth of field doing a ton of heavy lifting here, as it's basically tricking your brain into making this look more realistic due to the blurriness. Hey, my psychology degree and all.
Yeah? Okay, let's try. I'm looking at the lamp, but I'm kind of everything else around it doesn't go blurry. Now, admittedly, I can make things go blurry on demand, not instantly, but I can focus on things, and everything around will start to become blurry, and I can stop it. It's a pretty trippy thing. Hey, never say school didn't teach you anything. I learned that pretty well. I even learned the greatest trick of all, erasing objects from your field of view. When you look at an object and it literally just fades. Pretty hard to do, and it requires a setup. It can't be a big object, but you know, it's possible to do, and that's pretty funky.
All those perception classes are finally coming in handy. And as you could probably tell, at moments like this, the game genuinely looks like real life. Almost everything comes together perfectly. And that is why so many of these showcases of this mod begin with a slow walk up to a vehicle with some...
Wait, I maybe know why I don't like it. Because the concept here is simple. You are looking at this car right now, right? So everything else is going to be blurred a little bit. But that's bad for me because... What's the English word for it? Because this is one thing that I have practiced a lot. It's the thing that my mind registers stuff that I'm not concentrating on. For example, I can be looking there, but if my hand is here in vision, I can easily tell what am I showing. There's a name for this. It's pretty interesting to practice because, you know, nothing really slips from you because you register that. You can be looking at one thing and then another thing happens and your eyes are glued on that, but your peripheral vision still registers it in your mind in a conscious level. That's pretty fun. Man, I learned a lot of things in school. Who would have thought they're gonna come through, huh? Amazing.
Cloudy weather in the background. That's really the conditions where this looks best and where you could really start to encroach on lifelike visuals. But as soon as you get into the car and start to drive around, the facade definitely degrades a bit. I don't think you're convincing anyone that this is real life, even though this looks remarkably good. But even with that in mind, this mod blew me away several times just during normal Cyberpunk gameplay. Not doing anything super specific, and it made the game look...
Did you see the displaced woman just boop, 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 teleport a little bit.
Absolutely fantastic. Some moments you could just stop and look out at the city and it looks freaking phenomenal. Some of the extra lighting changes from the mod doing the heavy lifting here, and also adding a couple of custom vehicle mods on top, like with the G63 AM.
Yeah, no, this definitely does not work for me.
You've been seeing will really help sell things more. But if you're attentive, you're probably starting to notice some of the specific quirks of this mod combination, as there are several things you'll need to keep in mind if you want your Cyberpunk looking lifelike. As I have a feeling for a lot of you, as you see things right now, you're not going to want to actually play this way. A big chunk of what makes things look so lifelike is the incredibly strong depth of field from this mod, but that comes with some gigantic trade-offs. You probably noticed that I haven't shown all that much driving around or even combat, and that's because it's going to be super blurry. This intense depth of field makes most driving yield a blurred out car, and most combat yield a blurred out weapon. Sometimes when you get up close to somebody so things focus much closer to you, they'll come back in focus, but the vast majority of the time, yeah, your car's going to be blurry. And where this becomes somewhat game changing is as you start to introduce some of the UI elements back on, because almost all of these are going to be blurred, and loading save
Oh man, that's a little bit much.
games definitely become slightly more difficult with this reshade. And while using a reshade for Cyberpunk, you're not able to use frame generation fully, you'll have to set FPS limits. But thankfully, there is an alternative version of this mod. There's a lower depth of field version that vastly improves function.
This is better. This is better. Because, yeah, it's less blurry and you can I can almost accept this. For example, when you look at this, right, or this, or everything around.
No more blurry cars, and your HUD will largely stay in focus now, even creating some pretty epic moments like with this Honda Vision N mod that looks absolutely incredible. But at the same time, when you use the lower depth of field version, things still look great, but it's definitely a toned down version on those photoreal visuals. Functionality with this version is through the roof, but some of the visuals definitely take a hit. But even beyond some of the obvious negatives from the depth of field alone, there are also just some general lighting quirks here. You'll notice several interiors just look different. It doesn't necessarily look better or worse, it's going to...
It looks worse because everything's blurry because... I can tell you what's happening. It's concentrating on this, for example, that these are the biggest sources of light, so they catch your eye more. So everything else is really blurry except, you know, a couple of particulate things, and that's pretty bad.
It could be a preference thing, but it definitely looks quite a bit more different compared to how Cyberpunk looks by default. And whether it's outside of fog or night...
I don't know about you, but I want my cyber sleuths to be crisp, okay?
Definitely look worse to me compared to vanilla Cyberpunk. This sunny weather is fine, but there...
Oh god, again, look at this. Again, I hate this so much. There is no circumstance in real life where this is gonna reflect that almost. That's just... It doesn't happen.
This sunny weather is fine, but there are definitely quite a few other mods that I prefer the sunny weather with compared to this one. So I'd describe this as a very specific type of mod combo. Some people love this aesthetic and how insanely photoreal you can get your game to look at points, but it definitely comes with some baggage. I mean, literally, it'll cost you money, but also several of the other quirks I've described to you. Thankfully, there are a lot of fish in the sea, and many other visual mods for Cyberpunk 2077 are available right now.
I mean, he just went through a person and a little bit through the ground there. I mean, Cyberpunk still has bugs, so deal with it.
Now, and one initial mod that I think will appeal to a lot of you is the high-res graphics pack. This actually isn't an individual mod, but instead a Nexus collection. If you've never installed a collection, the way this works is all of these mods included will be automatically downloaded and ordered for you. So you just click a few buttons and everything will be installed nicely as long as you have Nexus Premium. This does have a monthly fee associated with it, but if you're downloading mods frequently, you may have bought this already. It is pretty handy in its own right. But once installed, this is a near perfect base layer for Cyberpunk 2077. It'll upscale the textures of many things, such as other NPCs, and that's easily one of the biggest aspects of this mod.
Bad.
Many NPCs have higher quality textures, and you'll really notice this in the details.
Is this better? I don't know.
You'll really notice this in the details. Like some of their tattoos just look a lot better, a lot higher fidelity, or if they have details on their face, those individual details will look a lot better. I would say that's the majority of this mod, but other things are impacted. Some of the roads in the game get an HD upgrade, as well as several aspects of V's apartment will look better. But one of the best new visual mods to release that you could add on top of this is Gits 3.0, which just came out a couple of weeks ago. This mod brings visuals from Ghost in the Shell to Cyberpunk 2077, which in reality, the biggest thing you'll notice is the increase.
Oh, this definitely looks better, but the previous ones, I don't know about that one, Chief.
Contrast. Some scenes in Night City are now incredibly dark, obviously when you're playing at nighttime, but just in general I notice a bit of a darker tone for the game. But then the lights that contrast that scene are going to pop almost more than any other mod I've seen. So exploring around at nighttime particularly creates this beautiful landscape that's illuminated by Night City neon. There's of course also a rain component to this one, as it is based off of Ghost in the Shell, so you have some overhauled rain visuals, and I really noticed some of the highlights of the city were brighter. Like the base tone might have been a bit darker, but things will just pop a lot more. So of course, mods like this are always going to be incredibly subjective, but with this mod in particular, if you like most of what you're seeing, but you think it needs a few tweaks that may be available already, there are actually several variants of GITs, and I'm just showing you the main one here, but there are several others with certain things turned up or down. But if
Interesting. Well, whatever. That was our boy Juicy Head. 10 out of 10. I don't know. A lot of this stuff just doesn't work for me, I feel. In any case, maybe it works for you. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, right? Anyway, this was Said, and thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.